Thanks once again for joining me. So today we're going to use a play that I worked with some time ago that at best was ranked inside the top 20 in the world. Great example of how the ribcage could move for players in the backswing. So this one here I would say would apply for a number of viewers that are watching here, but I'm going to give you or share with you a few different ways that you could play around with to achieve the same concept I'm going to share with you today. So let's start off by putting up a 3D visual of this player and how the ribcage moves through backswing. So first thing that I would like to point out here is in setup, how well the player is set up with the bottom rib above the bottom of the hip. So I just want you to reference that first of all in setup, and then as the player moves through backswing, using the arrow there, I'm referencing the direction which the ribcage, or I should be more precise, the thorax is pointed, and you can see at the top of the backswing the arrow is pointed still lower than horizontal, so the ribcage is down at the top. This is something that I reference quite regularly, but nice to be able to show you that visual today. And also when I'm 3Ding players, one piece of feedback or visual I will point to players is that if you draw a line from the base of the neck at the top of backswing down to the back of the hip or the back of the pelvis there isn't really much space between the spine, the ribcage, and the line that I've drawn there. Okay, so I'll show you an opposite view here, or in contrast to what it could be like. So players that move through backswing, they get quite extended. When I draw that line, you'll see now that there's quite a bit of space between the line and the bottom of the ribcage. Okay, so we're looking for, through backswing, the ribcage to stay down. Also in that example there where the player doesn't move too well, you'll notice how now that the arrow is pointed very much more up to the sky. Okay, so there's a couple of clear examples what we're looking for, what I typically see that's not too good. Let's look at what we can do to help you with your rotation, your game there as well. So reference points I'll often give to players to help them with their rotation through backswing very simply will be, if you take the distance between your belt buckle and your sternum, we want to be able to somewhat keep that similar through backswing there. So if we're getting too extended, as we were in the second example I showed just a moment ago, we'll be actually lengthening or making that space between your two fingers here wider if we're going into a more extension. So we're looking through backswing to keep that the same. And one of my favorite drills, just because it helps with the ribcage positioning at the start and just the awareness of keeping the ribcage down through backswing, is if you were to put your trail arm under your lead arm here, put your lead arm just on your trail shoulder here, and just slightly, just a little bit of pull, but more of a push from the lead hand, push the trail shoulder around just to a point where you feel as though you've got almost the max stretch across your torso. So in doing this here, you'll be able to feel that you keep these 2 points very much the same distance. Might even feel as though, for many players that get this way a little bit too extended, it might even feel like you're almost contracting a little bit more through the core, a little bit more core control when you do this. When doing this, I encourage players to keep the head just inside the trail foot. So to do that, you might have to accommodate with just a little bit of rotation in the hips using your feet. Try and do it quite intuitively. But there's a great little body drill or example that you could use yourself just to build awareness of what it could feel like from a body standpoint at the top of your backswing. Now, the hands and the arms do definitely play a role, and that's why I've got a couple of little exercises here that I want to share with you as well. My first one is a band exercise. So you can see I've just got a piece of rubber tubing here. It's probably going to be a little bit more tight than I want it to be, but I'm going to put a twist in the band there. So any band you'd want to put a twist in, I'm going to put it around the back of my rib cage, and all I'm going to do is I'm going to turn my trail hand this way to somewhat reflect how the trail arm will sit in the golf swing as you move through the backswing. And from there, what I'm going to do is I'm going to reach with my lead arm and kind of meet my trail hand there in the backswing there. So you can see they're creating a very much similar position, but what this is doing is giving a nice reflection of how you would reach through your shoulder, you'd reach and move through your shoulders in the backswing to get it into that position there about 3/4 of the way back. So what that drill is actually doing is is it's encouraging this motion here through the backswing, and this motion here actually encourages also the ribcage to sit down and for us to maintain that space between belt buckle and sternum that I mentioned before. So we want this move, and that leads me into my final one for us today. If you were to take your golf club and just hold it out in front of you and just kind of go through that push-pull motion there, just to kind of reflect again how we want to move through shoulders, scaps, to help the rib cage to sit down in backswing. What we're going to do then is we're going to get into our golf posture, do that move there, and just kind of like turn and kind of take our grip there, and that will help us to get into that position as well through backswing. For players that typically extend, you might feel quite a bit lower than usual in that position there as well. But again, this is more conceptual stuff. I wouldn't go do that and then just start hitting at full pace. So I've got a ball here. I would start off unbelievably slow. First of all, getting very clear on what you're trying to achieve, what it feels like to be in the position you want there. And from there, then move into how are you going to get into the impact position you want, slow rehearsal, slow hitting, all the stuff that I typically prescribe once you're clear on where you want to go with your game.